Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Hey and welcome. This is Todd Cahill of the podcast It's Not Out There, It's In You. This is episode 11. And today we're going to discuss the battle. And I believe there's 12 really personal battles that we as human beings are going to face on a day-to-day basis, maybe a week-to-week basis. Not all of them at the same time, obviously. That would be such pressure. I don't know how we would all try to win 12 battles. I can barely do my to-do list of 12 things. But I'm going to take you on a journey today about the battle, which I wrote about in my book, You versus You. It's actually the last chapter of the book, Battle 12, You versus Your Freedom. So I'm kind of going all over the place in some of these episodes since this is episode 11. The next episode is going to be You versus Your Health. But today we really want to dive into You versus Your Freedom. Okay, so what is this all about? You versus your freedom. So before I dive into it, if you don't know, I have a book out. I authored a book I'm so proud of. It came out February 19th of this year, and you can get it on Amazon right now for, I think, $15 or $16. It's called The 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass, You versus You. So I'm excited about it. I took my kids to Barnes & Noble and surprised them. My book is in some of the Barnes & Nobles here in Chicago area, in the Illinois area, and that's just been a dream of mine really coming to life. You know, as a young man in my early 20s when I was homeless and broke and, couldn't pay my bills, I actually went to a Barnes & Noble in San Diego and I wrote down some goals and some purpose stuff and really a lot of the stuff that we're going to discuss today because I wanted to not only live in the moment and be successful on a day-to-day basis, but I also wanted to find my purpose. I wanted to discover what my purpose was and where it lied. And by writing things down and discovering that, it really was an eye-opening thing for me. So I was able to set better goals. I was able to really focus. I was able to let opportunities come when they did come and recognize the opportunities when they were, here. So I want to talk a lot about that. I'm also going to talk about finding purpose in your life because I know, again, this is such a struggle with all of us, okay? It's like, why am I here? What is my purpose? So I want to really dive into this today in this battle of you versus you and the battle of you versus your future, okay? So with that said, let's dive into this podcast today, and we're going to first start off with kind of redefining what you versus your freedom really means. So I believe the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. If you don't, the battle between you and your future is already lost. So let me repeat that. The purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. If you don't, the battle between you and your future is already lost. So what does this mean? I really do believe that finding purpose is the key to life. It's the key to happiness. It's the key to fulfillment. It's the key to significance. And finding purpose in life is both beautifully simple and as complex as each one of us. Okay, isn't that true? It's about finding your identity and diving into a deeper expression of who you are as a human. You were meant to do something, okay? You were made to say something, but what is it? Knowing what it is the trick to winning the battle between you and your future. For without it, how do you know what to do with this moment in time? So let's discuss that, okay? Now, you may already know exactly why you're on this earth. So why are you on this earth? Maybe write it down. Why am I on this earth? To serve others, to add value to others, to make money, to be successful. Again, going back to the battle of you versus your success, you definitely have to define what success is to you. And I think obviously all of us are going to be different. My definition of success is probably a lot different than yours, or I would say there's similarities. There's no question. Your definition might be very similar to mine too. And I think working with a lot of people as a life coach, I've asked that question. in business and when people start businesses and stuff, it's like, okay, what do you want out of this business? And I think at first people say, well, I want to make some extra money. And I say, well, what is that money going to do for your future? What is that money going to do for your dreams and your goals and your purpose? And they say, well, and then that's when they get really deep. And that's what, taking the orange peels off. That's where I love diving in when I talk with people and really discovering what their why is. And it's a simple adage of, what is your why? Why are you here? And whether it's in business, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in you trying to fix yourself and not self-sabotage yourself anymore, any time that somebody has to change a situation or change themselves, you have to always go back to that question. And that why question is going to be very similar to that purpose question. So it's like, okay, what is your why? But at the same time, what is your purpose? Again, you may already know exactly why you're on this earth, or you may feel like you're wandering aimlessly. I think Zig Ziglar said a wandering generality. I think there's so many people out there that are just kind of wandering on planet Earth, and they're just like, okay, what do I do with my life? What do I do with these skill set? What do I do with these gifts that I've been given? But then, of course, they let things like people, they let things like negative people, toxic people, fears, of course, all these fears that creep in the older that you get. And we don't have a lot of fears when we're born. Fears are definitely learned. So you take the fears that you might have and you multiply that with all of the people around you, what you care. Of course, a lot of people care what people think and so on and so forth. So as a life coach, I work with people on both sides of the fence. I mean, every time I'm coaching somebody, we always are going to dive into the topic of you versus your future. But there are people who have a deep sense of their life's calling. And I think for me, it's so attractive to hang out with these people that just know. There's something about them that's attractive. And I'm not talking about their looks, although I will say you can have somebody that maybe at first glance is not very attractive to you. Maybe you're not attracted to them, but when they open their mouth, they become naturally attractive as a person. So therefore, their looks are enhanced as well. So I think a lot of women also look at men for this, and even vice versa. When I look at different women, even when I was single, I was always looking for a driven person, a driven woman. And of course, I found one who's now my wife. And yes, she's beautiful on the outside, but the driven personality and not so much all the time. I don't think you need to be driven all the time. I think you need to also live in the moment. We're going to discuss that today. But again, it's always so nice to hang out with people with a great sense of their life's calling, isn't it? And I get to help people that have that navigate on how that plays out, which is, for me, it's so exciting. So like, for instance, somebody asked me, like, what type of people do I like coaching? Well, I love coaching people that not necessarily have such a deep sense of purpose already, but although I will say that people do have a deep sense of purpose, they know exactly what they want to do, they know exactly the impact they want to make, is obviously super fun to work with and encouraging to me. I'm getting probably more out of the coaching session than them because I'm just fired up and my skill sets are just like exploding because I just love helping people, craft their message and be able to share their message to the world, whatever that message might be. Of course, future-wise, make money and monetize and build a business. Obviously, all that is great. But at the same time, I think there's those who admittedly have no idea. So what if you do? What if that's you? And I would say the more majority are people that don't know what their purpose in life is compared to some people that do. So they're trying to find their place in this world. And maybe that's you. Okay? All they know is that they desperately want to lead a life of significance. My brand is Beyond Driven, and it talks about really my focus of my brand is to not just go from, not just be successful, but it's to go from success to significance. And what significance means truly, I think we as human beings, I would say the vast majority of us, there's always the 1%ers, there's always the bad person or the bad people out there. But I would say the majority of people that I talk to, that I come across, are really good people. And one of the things that I always get when I'm sitting down with somebody and I'm at Starbucks or I have a coffee with them and I'm just asking them maybe their goals or what they want to do if they do well in this business or they do well as an entrepreneur in my business model, they always say things like, I want to help my mom. I want to help my dad. I want to help my sister. I want to retire my wife. I want to retire my husband. It's always about other people. And I think that's what really is significant. That's what significance is adding value to other people. Hence me doing a podcast. For me personally, I get a kick out of helping people significantly. I want to significantly help you in your life. I want to significantly add value. But let's also be real. If I'm not significantly adding value to my own life and changing the things and knowing what my future is and finding purpose in my own life, because I think we can also, especially myself as an author and a thought leader, I think we can also get caught up in only helping other people. But it's the people closest to us that we're not really helping anymore, because we have we're so driven by that. We need to also stop and smell the roses and be like, have I hugged my wife today? Have I hugged my husband? Am I adding the most value to my immediate family? And then, giving, because you can't give what you don't have. And I felt so, it's a constant struggle for me right now. It's a constant struggle. It's like I have all these goals and dreams, and I want to be a bestseller, and I want to have a successful podcast, and I want to crush social media, and I want to write great content that people can get some significant, value out of. But at the same time, it's like, there's other aspects of my life that I'm failing in, just absolutely unequivocally failing in. And I have to grab myself and go back to, okay, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this post? What is the purpose of writing a book? What is the purpose of what I do? And if we don't constantly ask this question, we will fall out of knowing what we're doing in this world, okay? And the brick wall that we're all up against is assuming that purpose and significance equals something epic. And I think that's the temptation, especially on social media. You got to be epic. You got to be like, you have to have all the followers and the comments and the pictures and the looks. And you just have to be epic in order for you to truly live a life of significance. And at the same time, you have dramatic, monumental, lavish. There's such pressure on all of us. And to that I say, it really is simpler than you think. Okay, it really is simpler than you think. And that's what I want to dive in today. So there's a popular folktale about a crackpot. I don't know if you guys ever heard this, but a water bear in India had two large pots, each hanging on the end of a pole he carried across his neck. One of the pots was perfectly made and never leaked. The other pot had a crack in it. And by the time the water bear reached his master's house, it had leaked much of its water and was only half full. For 2 years, this went on daily, with the bear delivering only one of the half pots full of water to his master. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, but the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it was able to accomplish only half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it perceived to be a bitter failure, the cracked pot spoke to the water bear one day by the stream. "I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" asked the bear. "What are you ashamed of?" "I have been able to deliver only half my load because this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to my master's house. Because of my flaws, you have to do all of this work, and you don't get full value for your efforts." The water bearer felt sorry for the cracked old pot, and in his compassion he said, "As we return to the master's house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." Indeed, as they went up the hill, the crackpot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wild flowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it some. But at the end of the trail, it still felt bad because it had leaked out half its load, and so again it apologized to the bear for its failure. The bear said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other pot side? That's because I have always known about your flaw, and I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. Without you being just the way you are, he would not have this beauty to grace his house." So guys, let me tell you something. We are all crackpots. We are broken. Don't think for a second that your unique flaws can't also be sources of your significance. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the flaws and the failures of this story, of this parable, of this cracked pot, is even though this pot was cracked and the water kept coming out, the other pot that was perfect actually put the seeds where the water was going every day that the cracked pot delivered the water to the flowers. And because of that, he made his master so happy because of the flowers, because he delivered the water on the flowers and the seeds, and it was just a beautiful sight to behold. So just think about the flaws that you have, the things that you think are not significant, but really are significant because they are the sources of your significance. Your purpose in life are your flaws, are your weaknesses just as much as they are your strengths. So don't fall victim to the lie that your perceived weaknesses can't be strengths. Don't assume that who you are right in this moment isn't indicative of your purposeful future. Who you are going to become depends on who you are today. So again, it's never too late or too early. Right now is a good time. So I wanted to share that with you, and I hopefully you really are encouraged by that story of the Crackpot. I know when I wrote the book, I love that story. That's why I added it to my book, because I think it just gives us that beautiful kind of visualization that we are the Crackpot. We have so many flaws, so many things that, oh man, it's hard not to get emotional as well. It's just all the failures, guys. I mean, me personally, and I don't want to, on this podcast, my point is not to talk about myself a lot, but to get to know me a little bit too. I've always thought that you had to be perfect. Not perfect, because nobody's perfect. I'm not, dumb enough, to realize that, you have to be perfect, but good, really, really good. Like, you had to be great. I'm growing up watching Michael Jordan. I mean, did he really make that many mistakes? Not really. I mean, he was pretty much a near perfect athlete. Okay. And it's hard sometimes when you have athletes or heroes or people that are so good, and then you look at yourself and you're just like, man, I'm not even significant. I don't even have a future. I'm just going to take it day by day and just get this job that I don't like and just kind of maintain and survive and not thrive, because I can never be like that. But at the end of the day, I think if you dive in closer and you take a closer look at that person that you want to emulate, or that person that you look up to, even with Michael Jordan, you guys probably all heard the story and stuff. And, when he was in 10th grade, I think he was like under 6 foot. Of course, he grew to 6'6", I think the year after. But he was cut from the varsity basketball team. Imagine that, the greatest player ever in the world. And you might be biased. You might think LeBron James is, or Kobe Bryant, which, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which totally, we don't have to get in that argument. I don't think we'll ever know the greatest player. It's different eras. It's different, it's just different. But we all know that Michael was one of the greatest. And what happened to him, and this is where I get my, and the reason I want to share this story, it's not so much about Michael Jordan's story, it's how I related to his story. And that's what social media, I think, needs to become more for us, is a relatable platform. I was looking at someone's Instagram, I think yesterday, and it was somebody that was at this guy's house, and he opened up his garage. And I think this gentleman is probably in his early 20s or mid 20s. He's definitely younger than me. And he opened up his garage, and I'm not kidding, he had probably 7 or 8 or 9 brand new Lamborghinis. And he owned all of them, and he's obviously very successful. And I don't know why you need more than maybe one Lamborghini if that's your dream car. But no, I'm not kidding, he had like probably 8, 7 of them. And I'm just sitting there, and right now, me and my wife have one car. I had a sports car, and we actually had 3 cars, but I got sick and tired of paying the payments. I got sick and tired of, the huge bill at the end of each month for cars, and my sports car I never even really used, because I live in Illinois and Chicago, and half the year it's cold. So we just got rid of them. We've been living on one car, and there's many times where I've had to rush a gym workout to get home, or she's had to rush to get home because I needed to be somewhere, whatnot. But it's definitely been easier on our bank account, that's for sure. And I look at this person, again, no judgment, but I just can't relate to that. I just can't relate to, the Lambos and, having success and spending all your money on big homes and cars. And I just think that poor guy, I mean, he probably has first of all, I'm sure he loves cars, but at the same time, it's like, why do you need 8, bro? Like, why do you need 8 Lamborghinis and you're not even 30 yet? I think it comes from ego. I think it comes from just look at me, everybody, and his freedom in the future, him versus his future is definitely not gonna, I don't know. I don't know what his future is going to look like. Maybe he goes belly up. Maybe he loses money because he keeps buying. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, for me, when it comes to the social media platform. In a sense, that used to be me. Not so much buying cars, but it was me showing the world how great I am, or that everything is incredible. My life is incredible. My marriage is incredible. My kids are incredible. Everyone loves me. No, not everyone loves me at all. In fact, I've really messed up the future of some of my relationships because of scarcity, of the scarcity mindset of whatnot. So if you really do want to have a great future, I think it really does come down to being more vulnerable and being, just real in that. Even if you're chasing purpose and significance, it's just being real about, you don't know right now. And it doesn't matter your age. You might be like, well, I don't know what my future is right now. But you know what? Not only do I not know it, but I'm going to do whatever it takes. Maybe you buy my book, You versus You. Maybe you start taking notes. Maybe you just realize, okay, I'm going to figure it out though. And I love that attitude when people say, you know what, I don't know right now, but I'm going to figure it out. Okay. So in my book, I want to share this. I have 3 R's at each of the chapters, just so you know. There's a return. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. So what is the return on the battle? And really what the battle has done to you. Oh, and then we have to redefine it. So if you really want to conquer this specific battle of you versus your future and having a wonderful future, a future that is filled with just incredible success and significance, but at the same time living in the future. And we're going to talk about mind wandering here in a second. But you have to secondly redefine it. Okay, and I'm going to share what that means. And then at the last R is repeat. So once you redefine it and you know exactly what to do, then you're going to repeat those choices that you're making on a day-to-day basis, so that you are on the path of purpose and significance. So the return on this message and this battle is, let the hope of tomorrow inspire you, but be driven by today, because it is all you have. Be driven by today. We've all heard it, even in the Bible and stuff, even if you're a believer, not a believer, if you're a person of faith like I am, the Bible says, don't worry about tomorrow. God's going to take care of you, but that is hard. Let's be honest with you, because what does that take, gang? What does that take? Okay? What does it take when you hear that even God says, don't worry about tomorrow? Because tomorrow's not here. You have to live in that moment. But what's so scary about that verse for me is it takes massive faith to live in the moment and not mind wander. Because mind wandering is the antithesis of happiness. It's absolute kryptonite to somebody who wants a beautiful future. So in order for you to win the battle of you versus your future, you can't mind wander. You can't not be in the moment. You cannot be present, because you're always thinking about what's happening tomorrow, what's happening next week. As human beings, we do have this unique ability to have our minds stray away from the present. How many of you can agree with that? You're sitting at your computer working on something, yet you're thinking about the vacation you had last month, what you're going to have for dinner, and worrying that you're going bald. This ability allows you to learn and plan and reason in ways that no other species of animal can. Yet the data that has emerged showed it was detriment when it came to being happy. Detriment to being happy. I know everyone that's watching or listening to this podcast or anything that I put out in social media via video, I know that you want to be happy. I think that's what we're all choosing. We want happiness. We want to be happy. But here's why I'm not personally happy most of the time. And I'm just being real with you. I personally struggle with being happy. When I'm happy is when I don't have to worry. My mind wanders so much because I have to focus on, hitting goals. I have to provide for my family. And I have to always go back to this subject of mind wandering, because it is, again, the antithesis of happiness. So if I truly want to be happy in the moment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about how big or small your bank account is. It doesn't matter if you have 1 car or 0 cars or 8 cars. It doesn't matter if you have that house, you're living in an apartment right now. Even if you're massively driven like I am, even if you're massively disciplined, you've got to learn to live in the moment. See, doing this podcast right now, if I'm thinking about, okay, what do I got to do later on? I'm not in the moment with all of you. I'm not in the moment sharing my heart, sharing my vision, and hopefully adding value to all the listeners out there that really are also like me and say, I can relate. My mind wanders all the time. My mind wanders all the time. What do I do about it, Todd? So results showed that 47% of the time, people are thinking about something other than what they're currently doing. 47% of the time, okay, through a study. Think about that. 1 out of 2 people, basically, are thinking about something else other than what they're currently doing. ranging from when you're taking a shower to when they're working to when they're even having sex, okay? No matter what people are doing, their mind is wandering, okay? Is yours? Mine sure is. Maybe not at this moment because I'm talking about it. So I'm in the moment. I'm in this podcast. I'm excited to share with each and every one of you. But maybe you want to argue that mind wandering makes you happier. You're thinking about something good, going someplace better in your mind than what's actually in front of you. But let me rebuke that response. Thinking about anything other than right now is taking away from the potential of your present happiness. How many of you would agree with that? I believe that you should enjoy the moment, right? Eye roll, please. We hear it all the time. Just, all you have is this moment. Enjoy this moment. But I'm telling you, even if you roll your eyes and you're like, yeah, right. I've heard that so many times. That adage is very overused. I agree. So cliche, but maybe it has stood the test of time because guess what? It is absolutely true. Maybe everyone would stop saying it if we all just actually did it. So today, take that advice. I promise you're going to be happier. Just that advice alone. Even if you get nothing out of this podcast and you're just like, look, that's a lot of great information, but what can I take away from this podcast? What's the one thing that I can apply to my life? And that's what I'm always looking for in a book. That's always what I'm looking for in a podcast when I'm listening to it, maybe at the gym or maybe when I'm doing my cardio. What's the one thing? Because I think that's good. It's a good thing to like what's in it for me. I mean, that's not a selfish thing. What is in it for me right now listening to you? What is in it for me reading your book? What is in it for me? Well, I would say today, enjoy the moment. Enjoy the fact that you're broke right now. What? Enjoy the fact that you're rich right now. Enjoy the fact that you're single right now. Enjoy the fact that you have a happy marriage. Enjoy the moment with your wife. Enjoy the moment tonight with your kids. Enjoy the moment with your dog. Enjoy the moment listening to this podcast. Enjoy the moment of meditation in the morning. Enjoy the moment of your cup of coffee. Enjoy the moment of going to Starbucks and just driving through and just ordering your favorite cup of joe. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy your workout. A lot of people are like, well, I hate working out. Oh, I just want to get it over with. No, every squat, enjoy it. Every time you do a bench press, enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you're working out and that is going to enhance your body. It's enhancing your life. It's not hurting your life. So winning the battle between you and your future does start with not living with your head in the clouds. You can have the future in mind, but loosely enough to be able to maintain a firm grip on the words and actions that you are responsible for now. Does that make sense? So think about this today. Think about living in that moment so that way your future does look brighter. And of course, like I said, it's not just living in the clouds. Your head in the clouds like, okay, well, I'm broke, but I don't care. I'm not going to work hard to go get more money. It's not about that, but it's living in the moment of learning the lessons of why you're broke. And then doing the necessary actions right now in this moment and not worrying about how much money you're going to make next week. But if you start to do the necessary actions right now in this moment, because you have that vision for your future, you obviously don't want to be broke forever. Even if you're broke right now, you're starting the momentum. And momentum is easy to get and it's sometimes hard. It's hard to get and easy to lose sometimes. But I believe if you finally get that momentum, it's not easy to lose if you do live in the moment and enjoy it. And I think for me, that's been my struggle. Even when I have been successful and have made, a lot of money and a lot of success in my businesses, I didn't really enjoy the moment. It was all about next month. Okay, I just made $50,000 this month. Or hey, I just had an epic month. We just made 61. Or I just hit a top rank in our company, whatever it is. Well, I had 99% of the time, I was like, okay, that's great. That's cool. Everyone's like congratulating me and, oh, great job, Todd. Proud of you. I'm like, oh yeah, it's all about next month. Okay, thanks guys. But I'm focused on the next goal. I'm focused on that. No, I probably should have just, went to the bar with my friends. I don't even drink that much, but had a rum and Coke and sat and relaxed and maybe watched TV or just, celebrated, instead of just like, okay. And that's the problem sometimes a bit about being driven, myself, that's happened so many times. I've hit so many different goals. And then I'm just like, okay, next goal. And I haven't taken the time to even vacation. I mean, the next couple weeks, my wife and I are going to go to Mexico, and it literally is a real true vacation. It's not a trip I went with my company, and we got to sit in a conference room for 3 days, because I won a lot of trips and I've gone on a lot of vacations, but there always was an agenda. There was always like, okay, post this or make some calls even when you're in Hawaii, and get in the conference room, and we got to be in the hotel all day, when you can hear and smell the ocean, right? But this is a full-on vacation. I'm going to enjoy the moment. I'm not going to take my phone, maybe just for pictures, but I'm not posting. I'm going to take a week off social media. Because you know what? I don't want to deal with it. I want to literally have a vacation. This is like my first true vacation. And I want to live in the moment with my wife. I want to be there in the present moment and not worrying about what's to come, and not worrying about the things that are going to happen, and nervous to check my email, and nervous to check my phone, and someone's texting me, and someone did this to me, or someone is doing that to someone else. Like, I want to take a vacation. I want to celebrate. Now, you can't live like this all the time, obviously. You can't just take a vacation on life. But there are times where it is acceptable to go take a vacation because you deserve it, because you've planned your future, but you've also lived in the moment. And in the moment, you're taking the action necessary and required for you to go to that next level. So how many of you would agree with that? Now, the second one is to redefine. So the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. If you don't, the battle between you and your future is already lost. And then the third, so obviously redefining that. So if you don't believe that, well, maybe you can start believing that the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. And that's why Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life, has sold more copies than any other hardback copy in the history of the world other than the Bible. Because people want to know their purpose. If you don't, the battle between you and your future is already lost. Now, the last thing, once you know this, once you get that self-awareness, is repeat. It's never too late or too early. Right now is a good time. So in order for you to make the right choices, in order for you to win the battle of you versus your future, you must relinquish the anticipation of the future itself. You must have the wherewithal to realize that tomorrow is not promised, and you must live right here, right now, with purpose and intention. What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? Go get after it. Get after it. Because you know what? You're worth it. It doesn't matter. It's never too late. It's never too early. Right now is the best time to know exactly where you're going, live a life of purpose, but really, truly enjoy the process and enjoy the moment. So taking action, wrapping up this podcast, guys, what do you do with this knowledge? Okay, well, first of all, what is your number one takeaway? Write down your life mission purpose statement. That's what I would try to do if I were you after this episode. Try to do 2 to 4 sentences so that when someone asks you what you're all about, you will have a clear, focused answer. Isn't that cool? If you say, hey, what are you all about? I'm like, well, this is what I want to do with my life. This will take some time, but it will give you clarity. Clarity plus focus equals energy. Remember that. Clarity plus focus equals energy, which in turn will give you focus. The second thing that I would do to take action from this podcast is think about what you would do with your life right now if you knew you were going to die in a year. Okay, I know this sounds maybe morbid, but think about this. If you knew you're going to die in a year, you probably wouldn't do the same thing that you're doing. Okay, this might sound again morbid, but it's a pretty fascinating exercise. How would you spend your time with the ones that you love? Would you really truly live in the moment today, or would you be worried about something else? And then the last thing is, what specifically would you do with your day-to-day? What do you want your legacy to be? And this really does come down to a legacy question. What is your legacy going to be? And truly, what are people going to say about you at your funeral? My dad was always there for me. My mom was always there for me. She dropped everything to be there for me. Your husband, your wife. And believe me, guys, I'm not a huge authority to talk about this, but I will say, because I wrote the book You versus You, I'm also in the battle too. So I'm not really the expert, so to speak. I've had definitely my fair shares of wins and losses, just like a lot of you, but I will say that I'm in the battle with you. And I'm doing these exercises with you. And I've done a lot of these exercises in the past before I even wrote the book. And that death question, that really has resonated with me with my own coach. So think about it. You have a year to live. I'm not trying to be morbid, but what are you doing differently? How are you living differently? What are you doing today even? What are you going to do in the next hour that's going to be different than maybe you would have done if you didn't have that knowledge? Okay? So guys, with that, thanks so much for listening. Again, it would mean a lot to me if you could take 30 seconds and give this podcast a 5-star review. And then also pick up my book on Amazon. it's like 15, 16 bucks. Obviously, it's delivered to you right away. Would love for you to have that. And if you actually go to my website, www.youversuebook.com, youversuebook.com, you can check out some of the offerings that I have in coaching. You can check out some of the book offerings that you're going to get in different courses that are, in my opinion, very, very cheap cost, because I wanted to really give you a ton of knowledge and, some free books that are signed, etc. So check out youversuebook.com, and we'd love for you to be part of our tribe. Now, we're building a tribe of battle warriors, okay? People that are purpose-driven, or at least finding their purpose or want to find their purpose, and you can also, by signing up to my newsletter through youversuebook.com, you'll see the emails. You can be part of our tribe. And if you get the book offer, then you're definitely going to be added to our private Facebook page, which every day, myself and the tribe posts and has accountability and really loves to add value to other people. So it's definitely a community that we're building, a tribe, if you will, of conquering warriors that are battle tested and that are winning the battles of you versus you, these 12 important battles each and every day. But we're doing it not individually, we're doing it together. And I think that is where the accountability is, because accountability is everything if you want to get to that next level. So guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for listening, and have an awesome day. And congratulations on wanting to grow today.